Good morning, great to see everybody. I guess this means it's officially basketball season when I get to see all of you lovely faces again, and excited about that. Today was practice number 9 for us. So in terms of where we've been the past couple of years in the number of practices, we're a little bit further behind in the total number, but because of the trip to Italy and the 10 days of practice, of which 8 were 2-a-days, the 10 days in Italy, and the games, we feel like we're in a really good place in terms of being ahead. I will say it's very refreshing this year to have a nucleus of guys back. It is about building and adding, and we're talking a great deal about toughness. We're talking a great deal about sustainability through possessions, through games. I have not felt bad after one practice yet. This group has been very dialed in, I think, in terms of our culture. I'm ecstatic with the work ethic. We are no longer coaching effort, and it is about simply just getting things tidied up, so to speak, and a lot of the things. Implementing Kofi, we have not had Benjamin yet. Benjamin is on a recovery plan. He is cleared, but on a recovery plan, we're just not throwing him out there 100%. So that's exciting because that day is coming near, closer. But Kofi, Jermaine, those guys have been getting force-fed a great deal, especially in Jermaine's case, not being with us this summer, but I've been very, very pleased with what they've done. So, you know, as we stand here today, we're, you know, a couple of weeks away from our first scrimmage. Then we've got an exhibition, and then, you know, in a month we're throwing this thing up. So I like where we're at. I like our guys. I like our leadership, and I'm excited about one thing in particular. And I know I'll get asked it, so I'll just address it. I love the fact we've got expectations, and Illinois basketball is deserving of that. Our players are deserving of that. And it's time for us to grow into those. And it's not easy. Winning is not an easy thing, especially in the Big Ten. And I'm excited about an early season road trip where we are going to get tested against 2 very, very good basketball teams. And then an opportunity to come home and play some great teams at home. And as we continue to build, we got 2 very, very good Big Ten opponents, both picked ahead of us. And so I'm excited for the fact that this team gets met with some challenges early and some different opportunity, and we're working every day to prepare for those now, and looking forward to the start of getting this thing going here in a few weeks.
Brad, talk a little bit about how Trent and Io are meshing on the court together.
Yeah, the one thing I do a lot this year, this time of year, is I mix the groups up every day. And so those 2 playing together, Andres and Io playing together, Andres and Trent playing together, all 3 of them playing together. You know, we're looking at a lot of different combinations that we know will happen through the course of a season. It's no different than having Kofi and Georgie and maybe Kipper and having a bigger lineup on the court together. So you throw DeMonte in there. Today I had a group with Dre, DeMonte, Kipper, Georgie, and Kofi. And just looking at that group. And so it's fun to be able to have the pieces that you feel comfortable with can go fight no matter what the situation, and be competitive in those situations. So they're great, they're doing fine, and there's no doubt we're gonna see that duo, on the court together a lot.
Brad,
Coach-
what is Andres Felice bring to your program?
He's the unsung glue guy that potentially, could be as valuable a player as any guy on our team. And that's not to diminish, the guys that everybody wants to talk about. He's the guy that nobody wants to talk about, and all he does is everything right. He's an incredible leader. He is a vastly improved jump shooter, and, but his IQ, his character is so reflective of everything that we do on the court now, and I don't take that for granted. He's extremely valuable, and he does so many things correctly that it trickles down. It becomes contagious with our other players, because they know how hard he works, and they know how hard he pushes our guys to expect to win. And you talk about a competitive soccer, Dre's that.
Does he kind of epitomize what you like in players and?
Yeah, he's a pit bull on the defensive end, and he's a guy that is tenacious in everything he does. There's an aggression about with which he plays that is unique. It's not there's very little passiveness in his game. That translates, and that has allowed him to make the adjustment last year from the junior college ranks to the Big Ten quicker than normal, probably. But it's also very contagious within our team, and there's tremendous value in having a guy like that.
Coach, you got a roster with a lot of long, athletic guys. Is this more of a Big Ten ready roster, in your opinion, versus the first couple of years?
No doubt, no doubt. I mean, we're gonna look better in the airport, and we're gonna look better on the court. And we have 7 guys, 6'10", with 6'10" length or better. And that's something that we're excited about. You know, we try to recruit length. Sometimes I think size can be over exaggerated of its importance. Yes, it is. There's value in it. But you start putting Kofi out there with 7'6" wingspan, and you start putting Jermaine out there with 7'4", and Georgie with 7'1.5", and DeMonte Williams is just unusually long for a 6'4" guy. He's got a 7-foot wingspan, and you know, that plays to your advantage, and it would be foolish for us not to utilize that. So, you know, I feel great about where we're at in terms of physically looking the piece and being able to compete night in and night out physically.
With the depth of your roster, adding 2 transfers also that play college ball, how much is that upping the competition in practice?
Well, those 2 guys are good, and you see 2 guys that are now running your scout team or playing on the second team or challenging our starters who have 60+ college games. There's a real advantage in that, and along with getting better themselves and getting stronger, you know, I think it speaks to the comfort level I have of where our roster is, the job our staff has done in terms of recruiting and putting pieces together, to be able to set guys out and know they're gonna be 3-year guys here, and we're gonna get them on the court for 2, and their first year they become with knowledge and understanding of being ready to play, and that excites me, and they'll make our guys better this year, no doubt. They're very competitive young men.
You mentioned you did the Big Ten phase last year, and you bring in somebody like Kofi. Can you talk about your confidence that he'll be able to implement everything you want to do, even if it doesn't be 2 weeks long?
Yeah, I don't want to say that we're changing. We're not. You know, there's still tremendous opportunity, and analytics still show that the easiest time to score is in the first 7 seconds of a possession. I think that what is underestimated is how athletic Kofi is and how good a runner he is. And you've got an elite strength coach in Adam Fletcher, who has, Kofi was 286 today. His body fat is down to less than 9%. And you've got a guy who is as as well a conditioned athlete as he can be at this point, and he'll continue to get better. He can really run, and he's gonna apply a lot of pressure on the front of the rim. We're gonna play with pace. Where we have to become better as a basketball team is not taking the shot that's contested with 18 on the shot clock, and continue to grow and understand that we have guys in Georgie and Kofi who can score at the rim, where we have to become more patient and give our opportunities for the defense to make a mistake, and that's where we're really working hard to grow.
Coach, last year at Media Day, you talked about Io looking as advertised. What does Kofi just kind of look like up to this point?
Well, I'm always trying to be a little bit. He's impressive. He's impressive, but he's also a freshman, and he's not played a game yet. There's going to be a huge learning curve. When you're that big and that athletic, you've pretty much had your way up until this point because you don't see like-sized. And not that we're going to see guys 7 foot 280, but if you start looking through just our first 2 games in the Big Ten, Smith kid, very, very big at Maryland, and Teskey, 7'2", 7'3", he's going to see like size. So there's going to be some adjustment, but he's been very good. He's an exceptional listener. He's a young man who really wants to be coached and wants to become great, and so we've seen him get better every single day in every aspect.
What have you seen out of Io's focus and determination compared to last year?
Well, I told a scout today. I said, it's amazing that here's a kid who's 190 pounds today. He's added 20 pounds from what he was last year. And his commitment to work, and I say this about Io, he's got a maturity about him that is very unique. He is very driven, he is very focused about becoming the best player he can be and the best teammate he can be, and that's rare. He puts in a lot of time, and he's an improved jump shooter, there's no doubt about that. And with his added strength, we've seen a more confident, different guy. There's no questions now as to what he can and can't do. He understands all of that. So, very, very unique young man in terms of his focus and his maturity, and that's paying off for him and us.
Imagine you're hearing from a lot more NBA scouts now, getting a lot more calls.
They're all on tour. They're all making their way through. That's a really good sign that they want to find Champaign as one of their stops. That means our staff's doing the right things in the recruiting trail and working our guys better, and they're maturing into what they think are next level guys. We're trying to win Big Ten basketball games and win a Big Ten championship. So that's our focus, and we'll let those other guys figure all that out.
Speaking of staff, how has Steven adjusted to being back on the staff with you?
Terrific, and I think it's been extremely positive. It's been well received. He's had so much thrown at him in really a month's time. Getting to know players, getting to know staff, getting to know recruiting. Picking back up a new system that wasn't foreign to him, but he was away from it. So, Steven's extremely bright and dives right in, and I've challenged him to have individual workouts with all of our players, just to start building relationships. And that doesn't happen overnight, but he's done an excellent job to this point.
You mentioned Kipper earlier. What's his game at going into his final year here, and what do you expect out of him?
He's been one of the big surprises in the first eight practices. I've seen a very consistent Kipper, a guy that has made huge strides defensively, and I think that started this summer. We started to see some of that. So many people want to stereotype Kipper as an offensive player. You know, Kipper was a very, very effective rebounder his sophomore year. He was a guy that drew a lot of tough assignments. And we're starting to see that. I think that the maturity of our group overall has helped him. He's helped that become more mature. He's acting like a fifth-year senior. And that's been really positive. I've been very, very pleased with Kipper the first 8 practices.
Coach, could the additions of Kofi kind of mean that Kipper gets to move to the 3 a little bit? How's that transition work for him? Is he more confident outside a little bit?
Yeah, I think just defensively, he's in a better place. He's making less mistakes. I think there's a certain air about when you play with Kofi that there's a certain level of comfort knowing that there's a really big guy back there that helps protect, and you can be maybe a little more aggressive, and that's helped. That's helped Kipper. He's had days where he's been extremely efficient offensively as well, and that's getting to be the Kipper that we expect to see. It's nice to see him come back as a young man that spends a lot of time in the gym, works extremely hard, on track to graduate, does all the things that our locker room is about, and that's exciting.
Coach, last year Georgie talked about being a much better 3-point shooter than what his numbers showed last year. What have you seen in practice, or has he attempted a couple in practice where you think he's comfortable enough to make a couple in the game this year?
Yeah, I don't think that he's not going to shoot them. I think that we're working on, the right time, the right place for those. I think we're understanding how to maybe read a defense and know shot clock management, time, place, all those things are factoring in. And I think we're seeing a real maturity there.
You mentioned, you talk a lot about the history of the program and the expectations are good, but simply how important is it for this team to end the drought and get back to the tournament?
Well, I don't think it's any different than any other year. I think I think when you have a program that has all the banners that we have in Oven and in the State Farm Center, you have an extremely passionate fan base. I'll be honest, I want to win for our players, yes. I really want to win for those guys and our fans, and we're working very hard to do that. I think we can be a team that everybody's very, very proud of. And yes, we're in the Big Ten. It's a tremendous basketball league. Nobody's going to let you pass them. You have to go earn it. But I say it all the time, we're the 11th ranked program in the history of college basketball. And it's time that we have those expectations. And it's time we start acting like that. And that's what we're striving for every single day.
You mentioned not changing just because you have a guy like Kofi, but are there things you can do now with a 7-foot, 286-pound player in your system that you just haven't been able to do before?
A lot. Yeah, a lot. Your emphasis becomes, we've been one of the top teams in the Big Ten in scoring in the paint. We've done that primarily through cutters and our offense. We can still do that. Now we can also do that by force feeding that ball down there, and we don't have just Kofi. We have a guy like Georgie. Defensively, having a presence in ball screens, having a presence at the rim in terms of blocking shots, in terms of rebounding. That provides a lot of resources for a coach to have just from one player, and that's exciting. So we're tweaking things all the time, and that's a lot of fun.
Brad, I'm curious, in that system, how much is it on players to adjust to what you want to do, and how much is it on you to adjust to your players, just holistically for a coach in a system?
Yeah, I think there's a little of both. I think we're trying to put everybody in the best situation they can be in to be successful and play to their strengths and play to our strengths. Are we still running spread and doing the things we've done and playing fast? Yes. the emphasis within that can be a little bit different. And we ball screened a lot last year. You may see fewer of those. Just simply based on personnel, you know, having a guy like Kofi. So your adjustments are small and minor, yet they fit within everything we do, and that's the way we recruit. We recruit guys that fit what we do, and you know, we knew Kofi wasn't a plotter. You know, that Kofi could really run, and that he fit what we what we were all about. So we made small adjustments, and we'll continue to make those.
Coach, we're almost 20 minutes into this, and we haven't had a question about Georgie yet, so we'll break that train. Biggest jump between freshman and sophomore year, most people say, so where can he go this year? What have you seen from him?
Yeah, and I will say this about Georgie. I said it in Chicago. He might be the best conditioned athlete that I've ever been around, and he's in incredible shape. He is leaned up. He is just shy of 240 now, but he's stronger. I mean, he bench presses the building. He squats the building. He is literally very fit. He's running better. But I think from the basketball side of it, we'll see a more versatile Georgie. We'll see a guy that will handle the ball some. We'll see a guy that will put his passing on full display because he's a very, very good passer. Yet we're not going to forget how efficient he was in the paint and create opportunities for him to score there. He's worked extremely hard on his perimeter jump shot. Is that his bread and butter? It's not, but he's very, very capable of making it. So I think we'll just see a more versatile, well-rounded basketball player. And I think we're seeing one that's in practice that's very, very committed to becoming a better rebounder.
What have you seen from DeMonte Williams, and what was your kind of message to him in the offseason?
Well, and again, I think DeMonte gets so little conversation, and yet probably a guy that impacts a stat line and a stat sheet and winning as much as anybody on the team, if not more. And again, very seldom in the wrong place. Very seldom a guy that makes mistakes. Very, very good passer. The one thing I've challenged DeMonte with is, and part of this was on me last year, you know, I've got to get him more involved in the offense. I've got to get him opportunities, especially off the bounce. We saw it in games where he was extremely aggressive. DeMonte makes the right decisions when he gets the ball in the paint because of his ability to pass and his strength. But we've got to have him being that guy who can get the ball into gaps and become more aggressive. Not just be a guy who casts up a three every now and then. We've got to get him playing downhill. He was very good at that in Italy, and we've got to continue. I mean, he had big assist numbers in Italy, so we've got to continue to see that. And then I think he's a guy that can be one of the best defenders in the Big Ten.
Coach, with a lot of younger guys that you're going to count on this year, how important is the leadership from Kipper and DeMonte?
Oh, leadership's everything. Like, it's not just them. I think we're seeing, guys that Andres Feliz. I think we're seeing it from Trent. I think we're seeing a different, more mature Trent Frazier. You know, a guy that he's committed to winning, and he's dedicated to that, and he's talking all the time in practice. We're seeing a guy, like Io, become more vocal and not just sit back. And so I think we're in a really good place there. I feel really confident about our leadership, our locker room, the guys, how they're handling that on the court, and we're trying to create moments where leadership can be and needs to be handled the right way.
Coach, you talked about how the culture's changed. What was just the whole process like for you when you first took this job to now of changing that culture and trying to change the mentality of how things are around here?
Well, and I'm not going to go into. I mean, there's a lot of heavy lifting. I think when there's change, Change can be really good, and it can be really challenging, and it can be really difficult at times. And you're talking about 18 to 22-year-old guys who, they all come with the idea of wanting to be successful and having all of their dreams in front of them, and then all of a sudden, things change, and that happens with the coaching change. And yet it's, I'm very, very simple, and I tell people this, I'm a big character guy. I think character wins. And we talk about it all the time. Do the right things off the court to do the right things on the court. They coexist. And we've established our culture of work. That doesn't happen overnight. You go get guys like Io DeSumo. You get guys like Georgie. You get guys that are winners and have won and been in winning programs. And then it becomes second nature. They don't know any different. So a lot of it is putting some things into place and standing by those things and believing in those things. I'm a process guy. You know, sometimes that ball doesn't go in and the other team has more points than us. But I know our process is going to allow us, when it's right, to have a great opportunity to win most nights. And I couldn't be happier with the character. I couldn't be happier with the guys on our team and how they're managing all of that and growing with that. And that's really exciting.
Coach, you place an emphasis on being a team that can win because you're getting stops. What have you seen at the defensive end early on in the first couple of practices?
Yeah, we've got a real simple goal. We're trying to get 3 stops in a row 6 times a game. And that starts with attitude. That starts with an attitude. And it's got to be an attitude that we don't have to go on the road and shoot 54, 55% to win. We can go on the road because of who we are and how tough we are and how doggone, how much tenacity we have. And that attitude starts on the defensive end. And last year we were learning. And I mean, everybody was learning how to play and how to play with each other. And now we're to that point where it's about that. It's about that, you know, guarding 26 seconds and not making a mistake. Sustainability. Go back to that again. And if they score, because we play against really good players and pros, they're going to make hard shots. But not hanging your head, having a maturity about us that says, hey, we're going to go get the next one. And everything we're doing in practice is talking about that, working toward that, demanding that. And I like I said, 8 practices in and through the summer, I've liked what I've seen.
Brad, speak more vocal about highlighting the bullet point you give it to Io or something else.
Yeah, that's not just him. You know, quiet teams lose. Quiet teams lose. And for those of you who have ever watched an NBA team in a shoot around or a practice, you know what I'm talking about. Quiet teams lose. And you know, Io's a player that's extremely talented, and there's no doubt he needs to become a very, not just quiet leader, but a very vocal leader. And that responsibility is big. You know, he's got to know not just what he does, but he's got to know what everybody on the court does. And you know, if things aren't right, that's his responsibility to help make sure that they get right.
Brad, point differential much better for you guys in the first half than the second half last season. What do you think was maybe the biggest factor for that?
Youth, everything I just talked about, sustainability, understanding how to play better offense, understanding how to guard foul trouble. There's a long laundry list of things that we can look at that play into that. All the things that we're trying to address, and it's not a 20-minute game. It's a 40-minute game. We're moving drills around in practice all the time, and emphasis in practice all the time to, you know, work defensively when we're tired toward the end of practice and challenging them different ways. So sustainability.
Coach, it was pretty evident that Allen's made a big jump on the glass Where does that come from, and how much do you need it from that position?
Well, he's extremely instinctual. There's no doubt about that. Allen has a scorer's mentality. Scorers find a way to chase the ball. They find a way to get the ball in the basket, and he does that extremely well. He's very quick. He anticipates. His length plays a factor. He is a absolute nightmare in practice for our guys to go against. They don't like guarding Allen because they know Allen's going to go every single time, but there's tremendous value in that. I mean, 9 rebounds a game, 5 of them offensive. That means a lot of opportunities, extra opportunities for our team, and he was rewarded with those because he scored some easy baskets.
Brad, what's Kevin, and we saw flashes of him last year, how do you get that consistently, what's the growth in the summer?
Yeah, that's always the challenge, and he's made great progress. He's a guy that, again, we saw spurts of, in Italy. We saw flashes of his athleticism, and again, we're looking for consistency. I think one of the big things that guys we have to learn to play error-free, and those errors are not just physical, but they're mental, and so we're demanding those things in practice, and Tevian's a guy that can definitely help us, and we've seen that in games, and we're seeing a lot of progress there.
Coach Jermaine doing, can he help you this year?
Of course. Yeah, he's been, he's a little behind. That's not his fault, just because he wasn't with us this summer, and there's a huge adjustment. People have no idea how valuable the summer is. To come in here and get relaxed academically in terms of what you take, and it's low key. More importantly, the 8 weeks, you've all seen the pictures that Fletch puts out of before and afters. He missed that. And we do a lot of fundamental work, but he's extremely bright. He's catching on. He's a quick study, and that's helped. And defensively, he's got a tremendous knack for protecting the front of the rim. And as he continues to get comfortable, we're going to see more offense from him. But Jermaine's been a really big surprise. He's been great.
Coach, when you look at the roster and the additions of length, have you thought about maybe mixing in a zone a couple times defensively? How much do you think this roster could play a zone and be effective?
Oh, I think everything's a possibility, and we played a good deal of it in Italy, and I think there's no doubt that there's going to be lineups that can be very, very effective playing that. And I'm not going to be that stubborn to say that we're going to do all this. We're going to figure out how to give ourselves the best opportunities to win.
Coach, we talked about expectations that you guys have this year, but what do you say to someone that's looking from the outside and sees the record you guys had last year and just doesn't see how a team that had that record can make a jump to being an NCAA tournament team? Look at who we beat. Look at the growth we made from the start of the year to the end of the year. And I think when you start seeing a team that we know Michigan State's history, we know the success that Minnesota had last year, that Ohio State had last year. There were certain lineups that were very difficult for us, that were challenging, that were just kind of our kryptonite. But we showed at times what we could do. The thing that I'm really proud of about last season is very, very tough, challenging early season that we were not ready for. And yet there was no give up. There was no quit. There was always the let's get better. Let's continue to work. And this team stayed on course, stayed on track. And we saw, and I use Ohio State game, United Center, I think he missed 9 layups. We saw a young man that got better from that and grew from that. We saw a guy at Georgia who fouled out 10 times last year, couldn't stay in a game early and grow and mature. So, I think that, youth is a wonderful thing,
and it's a very challenging thing to win with. And our top 2 scorers were freshmen. And to have experience back, but to have quality people back who are good players, speaks volumes, and I'm excited. And then, you know, we've continued to add the right pieces and guys who have fit the pieces that we need to make our puzzle whole.
Good time for one more question before we go over to Oven.
How much can you use the development of you guys have gotten from Io and Georgie on the recruiting trail and your pitch?
Oh, a lot. Yeah, you know, we're in a culture in recruiting. Players mimic the NBA to a certain extent, and good players want to play with other good players, and that's exciting. Those guys become, you know, we had a visit earlier this fall, and you saw Georgie and Kofi in the stands chanting that young man's name. That's paying it forward. And that's what we talk about. That's the character piece. Our best recruiters, believe it or not, are not our coaches. They're our players. They're our student athletes. And good players want to be with good players and grow with those guys, and then be able to achieve the things that they all come here to achieve, and that's to reach their dreams and have success and make the NCAA tournament. So from that aspect, we are golden. We have terrific guys who work, and now we've got to go put that piece together on the court, and that's why we're the 11th ranked program in the history of college basketball, because we have the ability to go do that and sustain it.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.